If you have ever known one of the fallen, you've known greatness, but it is hard to be content with their silence, for we miss them. The empty chair on a holiday, empty every day. The photograph that goes wherever you do, the picture fades, but the person in it does not.
The empty chair. Welcome back. That was Secretary of Defense James Mattis, who joined President Trump in remembering the fallen at Arlington National Cemetery today. After the ceremony, the president visited the graves of troops killed in Iraq and Afghanistan, including the final resting place, you see it there, of a certain Marine, First Lieutenant Robert Kelly, the son of Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly. On this Memorial Day, we, and I know many of you, are doing the same, taking a moment to honor our many, many fallen soldiers and service members. Earlier, Jake spoke with the former head of U.S. Special Operations Command, retired Admiral William McRaven, about what this somber day means to a veteran like him.
Admiral McRaven, thank you so much for being here, and more importantly, thank you for your nearly 4 decades of service to this nation.
Well, thanks, Jake. Good to be with you today.
So, you've lost a lot of brave Americans who served under your command. I know on Memorial Day, you're thinking about them and their families. Is there any specific person or incident that you think of when you think of Memorial Day?
Well, you know, unfortunately, Jake, in my time after 9/11 in both Iraq and Afghanistan, we did lose a lot of soldiers, well over 400 of them. And you know, I tend to think more of the mass casualties, the ones we had with Extortion 17, Turbine 33. These were 2 helicopters that crashed, Turbine 33 during Operation Red Wing in 2005, and Extortion 17 on August 6th in 2011. And we lost a lot of great soldiers, Army aviators and Navy SEALs, and some of our Afghan counterparts. But you also remember the great guys like Mike Murphy, Michael Mansour, Robbie Miller, soldiers and sailors that gave their all and were recipients of the Medal of Honor. And then, frankly, you have those very personal moments where you remember some troops like Johnny Markham and Jason Friedwald that died on the operating table. You never forget those. And so, to me, Memorial Day is really about remembering the incredible sacrifice of all the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and civilians that have fought in all of our wars, and taking just that extra minute to say a little prayer for their families, for those that were their friends, so that we never forget the service and the sacrifice of these incredible men and women.
Last year, Special Ops forces were deployed to more than 130 countries. We've seen many sad deaths of Special Ops in Somalia and Yemen and Afghanistan. Earlier this month, Army General Raymond Thomas, commander of U.S. Special Ops, said special operations are, quote, not the ultimate solution to every problem, unquote. He also said the rate of deployment is, quote, unsustainable. Do you agree?
You know, I do agree, and nobody is better positioned to understand that than Tony Thomas, who has probably spent more time in combat than almost any other single officer we have in special operations. So he understands the strains of combat and deployments, not only on the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, but on the families that have to stay back. So I'm in complete agreement with Tony's assessment on 2 points. One, you know, special operations are not the solution to every problem. You know, we're not going to stop the North Koreans from coming south. We're not going to be able to keep the Straits of Hormuz open. We have a unique niche that I think we do incredibly well. And special operations, certainly in this fight, are a terrific force to use. But I think we have to be careful about how much and how often we use them and recognize the strain on the force.
If you were advising President Trump, what would you suggest he do when it comes to defeating ISIS in Iraq and Syria?
Well, I actually think he's on a pretty good path right now, and I need to credit both President Obama and President Trump. You know, this really started, this being kind of the surge in special operations forces and additional ground forces, you know, into Iraq and into Syria, you know, probably last year around this time. So President Obama kind of started this, and President Trump has continued it. And I think it is a good strategy.
This is a question that might be kind of silly to you, but I think there are a lot of Americans who look at North Korea and wonder, hey, why can't we just send a bunch of Navy SEALs or Delta Force into North Korea, go in, capture or kill Kim Jong-un, problem solved? I know it's not that easy, but tell us why.
Well, it's absolutely not that easy. You know, first, I'm not sure it's about Kim Jong-un. While certainly, you have a madman at the helm of North Korea, and the hard part about this, of course, is, he is a guy that you can't understand what moves he will make as you make the next chess moves. He is not a rational actor. So when we look at our dealings with a Putin or with Iran, we understand that they are rational actors. Kim Jong-un is not a rational actor. So the steps we take, we don't know what the second and third order effects of those steps will be. When you look at their nuclear program, and again, open source, they have between 15 and 20 nuclear weapons. They are trying to miniaturize those and weaponize those so they can put them on an ICBM. Most of that work is done underground, very difficult to get to deep and hard buried targets underground. You're talking a long ways inland. They have an integrated air defense. So the idea that somehow we could send a small special operations group in to, either take out KJU or take out their nuclear program is only the thing of bad movies.
A lot of, I don't know about bad movies, but I take your point. A lot of Americans heard your name for the first time after the bin Laden raid. A lot of Americans heard you speak for the first time after your commencement address at the University of Texas in 2014, which went viral. Let's play a clip.
If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter.
You write in your book about how a simple task like making your bed can lead someone down a path of changing their lives and possibly changing their world. Tell us more about that.
Well, I think this is a lesson we all learn as young adults when our parents tell us to make our beds. But the fact of the matter is, when you get in the military, you begin to understand why that is important. And as I mentioned in the speech, and as I talk about in the book, when I went to SEAL training, the SEAL instructors, that was the first thing we had to do at the beginning of the day. And there were two lessons from that. One was, it was the first task of the day. And if you did the first task right, it led you to the next task and the next task and the next task. And if you had pride in that first task, then again, that would kind of carry you through the day. The other piece of this, of course, was that little things do matter. And the SEAL instructors made sure that we as SEAL trainees understood that if they gave you an order to make your bed, you had to make it exactly right. So again, the bed analogy, and it's not that, you have to make your bed to be a good person, but I have found in those times when I struggled in Iraq and Afghanistan that getting up every morning, making my bed, taking a little pride in making the bed and doing it right really did give me some motivation for the rest of the day.